summary of what he is saying in this para. Okay, so this is the 20th paragraph of the chapter. The determination of the cosmos, the determinations of the cosmos. What is meant by that? What is meant is the forms in the physical world. Okay, everything that is there is a determination. It's given a form. Okay, so a tree, an animal, a stone, everything, all things are determinations because they are not indeterminate. They have got definite forms. That's what is meant by determinations. The determinations of the cosmos are not an illusion, as you seem to feel when you go into the first experience of the self. A complete error of ignorance. It is not a complete error of ignorance, it's a partial error of ignorance. Okay, so they have their significance and meaning in the total reality. Even the form that you see of a stone, that form may not last. Every human being also has got a form, but it does not last. Therefore, it is partly true, partly untrue. Okay. If you define truth as something that is eternal and unchanging forever, then you have to give that definition for truth. Sorry. So that's why everything in the physical world is partly true and partly untrue. But when you go to the self, you see that they are all only shadow forms, and therefore you say that they are not real and they are illusion. But that is only partly true. That's what Sridhar is explaining. A complete error is not a complete error of ignorance. They have their significance and meaning in the total reality. They are symbols and images of the Supreme Absolute. So even a symbol is something real. Okay, mother is the reality, her symbol also is a reality, and through that reality you can go to the reality. I go on concentrating on mother's symbol, it will take me to mother. Okay, that's exactly what he's saying. Don't think that that's not possible. That is why concentration, that is possible. So even a photograph, I remember in one case where Srimda is telling Aisha was she was the niece of Dilip Kumar Roy, and he is telling Srimda is telling her, keep a photograph of me, okay, in front of you and concentrate on it. Okay, that's what he's telling. So this can be done through the symbols. You can go to the reality. Then I go to the next. The Supreme Absolute is the indeterminable, which creates the determinations. In other words, that which is infinite, formless, but contains all forms, is indeterminable. It has no features at all, but it can create the features. That's what he's saying. The Supreme Absolute is the indeterminable, which creates the determinations, the features of the cosmos. At the lower end, the inconscient is also an indeterminable, albeit, that means in spite of, a dark and dense, infinite, indeterminable, from which springs up the forms of the evolution. So, right at the highest level also indeterminable, at the lowest level also of the inconscient, it is just one dark mass, no determination, no forms, nothing. A formless mass of black darkness. That's what it is. But that also contains everything. And slowly it comes out, which springs up the forms of the evolution. Between the two are the determinates. All the forms are there between these two. The highest is the indeterminable, the formless, and the lowest in inconscient also is the formless. Both are infinite, both are one, and both are seemingly the opposite of themselves. One is the positive aspect, above is the positive aspect, below is the negative aspect. Negative in this sense you have to understand that it seems to be the opposite of the other. It seems to cancel the divine omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience. But it is there hiding in it. That's the negatives. Okay. So, and in between the two, all the forms take place. Immediately after the supermind, forms start forming. And from the lowest level also, as soon as matter comes, forms start forming. Okay, forms start taking shape. Okay. The indeterminates express to man the freedom of the absolute from its own creations, fixities and rigidities of the cosmos. The divine is not the cosmos as pantheists think. Okay, the divine can be anything he wants. He can be form, he can be formless. When he is formless, it means that he is free. He doesn't depend on his forms. And when he takes a form, it doesn't mean that he is imprisoned in the form. He can come out and become, and this experience is possible even for man. Okay, you are stuck in your body mind life, but you have the power to get out of your body mind life. You can be free from there. Okay, that's basically what he's saying. So the indeterminates, okay, express to man the freedom of the absolute from its own creations, fixities and rigidities of the cosmos. The determinates express to man the infinite possibilities, aspects of the supreme absolute. This is what I am capable of doing. I can show you. I can become this, I can become that, I can become this, which is a seed that contains all the determinables in its womb. Okay? That is the validity of the nirvana experience. So when you have the experience of nirvana, you see the physical world as unreal, but you should not misinterpret. Divine is telling you that I can be free of the cosmos. Okay? That's the expression. What you are seeing as the reality in the forms is not the reality. That's what Swami is saying. That is the validity of the nirvana experience when the mind silences itself and the consciousness climbs into the freedom of the spirit. That's why we call it mukti. We call it liberation. Okay, moksha. The spirit is free. But the supermind holds in itself both the status and the dynamics. It is silent as well as dynamic. Both are there. The nirguna and the saguna. The impersonal and the personal. This is at the supramental level. This is what he's saying in the paragraph. So, in other words, if you want a picture, highest indeterminable, formless. Lowest indeterminable, formless. But the higher is formless in light. The lower inconscient is formlessness in darkness. And they seem to be the opposites, but they are very, very similar. They are like a mirror image. Okay, in the mirror, when you see, your left becomes right and right becomes left. So there is a sort of changeover like that. Okay, so but they are similar. One is the seed form, the other also is the seed form. One is the formless, this also is formless. The one is the infinite, this also is infinite. So in every way they are similar, but the divine is saying I can be two things at the same time. I can be static and I can also be dynamic. So this is the symbol of this whole thing. And in between are all the forms. Highest and lowest are formless, and all in between are forms in different grades. And the lower you start coming down from the higher, more forms appear. As you keep going higher and higher, less forms appear. You start seeing the oneness of things. Okay, this is what he's saying in the paragraph. So now we can go back to the beginning to see the words that he is using. Okay, that's very important, the words that he is using. So now I go back to the beginning of the para, but neither is a separate cognition. Okay, so now what is a separate cognition? He has told you earlier that you can experience the formlessness of the divine and you can also experience him as the form of the divine. The personal aspect as the impersonal aspect. When you make your mind silent and the consciousness goes to the self, it is the impersonal aspect. Okay, so that is a nirguna. But you can also have the experience of the saguna. So the separate cognition. Is it possible to have a place where the cognitions are not separate but together? Simultaneously I see the form and the formlessness. So they will tell you that yes, that is possible at the supramental level. But even at the overmind level, there is a separation. The two are not simultaneous. Okay, I cannot see the divine as form and formless at the same time. When I see, I can experience them. But when I am in the formless, I don't see the form. When I see the form, I don't see the formless in the overmind consciousness. At our level, we don't see anything at all. That is different. But at the overmind consciousness, there is a difference. But when you go to the supermind, you can see both together. That's what he's saying. Okay? But neither is a separate cognition of them entirely an illusion or a complete error of the ignorance. He's saying it's not. I see them as separate. That's what it. At the lower levels, you definitely see them as separate. In fact, it is so separate that when you are in the self, you feel that there is no God. I told you, many things say no God. You keep going higher and higher, you go to the overmind level. Now you see both are there. There is the formless and there is the form. You can see the personal aspect of the divine, you can also see the impersonal, but not together. That's the whole thing. So, together you have to go right to the supermind. Clear? At the higher mind level, you can see either the personal aspect of the divine or the impersonal aspect. 90% it is the impersonal aspect if you go through the mind. But if you go through the heart, it's possible to have the experience of the personal aspect of the divine. Like Ramakrishna. He is seeing and having conversation with his mother and getting guidance from her. Okay. And take Sridhar's case, is the experience of the impersonal aspect. Nobody there. Vast impersonal freedom, peace, calm, featurelessness. The world is absolutely an illusion. So, this is what he's saying. But neither is a separative cognition of them entirely an illusion or a complete error of the ignorance. This is what most of the religions make a mistake. Okay? Even Shankara, those praises Shankara like anything. But he says, why did he stop at this level where he is seeing both? He should have gone to the next level. Okay? So, in Bhagavad in many places, Sridhar says this in one place, that Buddha said the world is illusion. Shankara says the world is not illusion. It's a semi-reality. It's a reality, but it's a semi-reality. It is truth in time and space. It's a what you call practical knowledge. Okay? But the essential knowledge is up there. That is permanent. So Sridhar is saying, if you go to the highest level of supermind, you will see both together. And that's the truth. So, this too has its validity for spiritual experience. When you see the separateness also, it is valid for spiritual experience. For these primary aspects of the Absolute are fundamental spiritual determinates or indeterminates, answering to spiritual end or beginning, to the general determinates or generic indeterminates of the material end or inconscient beginning from the descending and ascending manifestation. Complicated sentence, but we'll try and understand what he's saying. You got the basic picture, but you also must understand what Sridhar is saying. It's a little complicated, but we'll see. Now, for these primary aspects. Now, what are the primary aspects of the Absolute? Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. These are the primary aspects of the Absolute. They are fundamental spiritual determinates. Ananda, Satchidananda themselves indeterminates, but they produce determinates, what he has told you in the previous paragraph, if you remember. Consciousness produces consciousness, the conscious and the one who is conscious, the one who is conscious of something, subject, object. Then Ananda, he says there is the enjoyer, there is the enjoyment, and there is the enjoyed. So these are the determinates. Okay. So are fundamental spiritual determinates or indeterminates, answering to the spiritual end or beginning, to the general determinates or generic indeterminates of the material end or inconscient beginning of the descending and ascending manifestation. So I'll put it in a very simple manner. If you start from the top, you begin with indeterminate, it creates determinations. There are forms. But take also even the Ananda aspect. Ananda itself is a fundamental determinate of Satchidananda, and yet it becomes the indeterminate for what is below it. So all these levels from the higher, if you go, higher is the indeterminate, the formless, and the lower is the form. Okay. So this is what you have to understand. And as you keep going down, 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 each phase, above, if you see, it's an indeterminate, the little formlessness. And if you come below, more forms. Okay. As I told you, I give you an example. You start with molten metal. It's formless. It has a certain formless form, but anyway, it's got gold. It's a metal. Okay, but I can make that into plates and wires and ingots. Now, so the molten metal is indeterminate and it produces determinates of plates, wires, and ingots. Now, the plate also can be made into so many different things. I can make a car out of it, that becomes the determinate. Okay, so there are so many things like that, it goes on. So the higher you go, the more indeterminate, the lower you come, the more determinate. And this is operating right from the highest level to the lowest level. The lowest level, full determinates. Okay, and this process never ends. Don't think that forms are not being made all the time. Even trees, even vegetation, even animals are going on being produced. There is no end to production. So at the highest level, it is static and it is indeterminable. But as you keep coming down, endless formation of forms. This is basically what he is explaining. And when he says generic, indeterminate, and he is saying using the word general determinate. So general determinate is the molten metal, and the generic indeterminate, that which has been made, okay, generic, it has been generated, is the metal plate, the ingot, and the railway track, and the wires. These are the generic determinates. But they are generic because they themselves also can be made into so many other things. Highest level formlessness, lowest level infinite forms, in between gradation. This is what he is saying. And we gave an example of that. Chit Shakti, for instance, Chit Shakti is the prana, it becomes the prana. Now, if you take the principle of life, okay, we saw that life is the determinate of Chit Shakti. Okay? Chit Shakti is infinite, indeterminable, and it creates life. Okay. Now, life also creates different types of life forms. Okay. We said, first of all, it creates vertebrates and invertebrates, two different things. But the vertebrates themselves also produce so many other things. Okay. They produce the 5 different types of vertebrates, and the invertebrates also produce infinite number. In fact, I think science has said 8 different types, insects and this and that, mollusks and jellyfish and whatnot. No vertebrate are there. But in the vertebrates, 5. Mammals, fish, birds, amphibians, and something else. There are 5 of them. I've forgotten. So, what are they? Mammals, fish, reptiles. Sorry, reptiles. Reptiles also have a vertebrate. Now, again, the reptiles can be made into so many different types of things. Okay, so this is an endless process. This is what Selby is saying. Okay, this whole paragraph. That's what basically you say. The higher you go, you are going more and more towards the formlessness, the indeterminables. And as you keep coming down, 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 more and more forms, more and more determinations. Okay. This is the what he said. Now, and he has used the word general determinate and generic indeterminates. That which is the determinate, if you see from above, becomes a indeterminable for that is below it. Okay, that's what he means by this. Now, and depends on whether you are descending or ascending. Now, those that seem to us negative carry in them the freedom of the infinite from limitation by its own determinations. When you go to the self and you see that you are in a condition where there is no features at all, it seems to be a denial of all forms, denial of existence itself. But that is not so. It is telling you that God can be free of all forms. That's it, freedom. The negative aspects, simply saying, give the freedom from the limitations by its own determinations. Then the positive aspects, the forms are clear. So, if you want to see it another way, the positive forms are divine's omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. He is all knowledge, he is all power. But when you are in the self, he denies himself all these and becomes formless, no power, no substance, no knowledge, nothing at all. Completely free of all these things. The divine can be all. Okay, that's basically what he's saying. So those that seem to us negative carry in them the freedom from the infinite, freedom of the infinite from limitation by its own determinations. Their realization disengages the spirit within, liberates us, and enables us to participate in the supremacy. So, our soul is enters into our body mind life, but it is not permanently imprisoned in the body mind life. It can become free. It can be the indeterminates can liberate us. If you concentrate on the divine, it can liberate us and we lose the connection with the determinates of body mind life. We are free. So, and enables us to participate in the supremacy. Supremacy, the one immediately supreme, the higher mind would be the supremacy for the normal mind. The element mind would be the supremacy for the higher mind. Okay, the intuitive mind would be the supremacy for the element mind, and so on and so forth. Okay, thus, when once we pass into or through the experience of immutable self, we are no longer bound and limited in our inner status of our being by the determinations and creations of nature. So, I'll read this sentence in a slightly different way. Then, at the individual level, you will understand what he's saying. But the truth is there also at the impersonal level. But we'll talk about it in the personal level. Then you can apply it to the impersonal level, universal level. We are no longer bound and limited in the inner status of our being. The inner status of our being, either the self or the psyche. Okay? By the determinations and creations of nature. Which are the determinations and creations of nature? Your body, mind, life. Okay, so you come from free. Now, this is also at the universal level also. The supreme divine creates all these different things and he is hiding in the inconscient, but he can free himself from it. That is what he's saying. Okay. On the other, the dynamic side is below. Okay, the physical world, movement. Okay, dynamism. This original freedom enables the consciousness to create a world of determinations without being bound by it. So the self creates all the things in the physical world, just like the seed is the indeterminate which creates the determinations of the tree. So it allows it to create all these things, but it is not bound by it. That's what he says. It is on this freedom that is based the spirit's power of infinite variation of the truth possibilities of existence and also its capacity to create without tying itself to its workings. Okay. Normally, when we, let's say, two parents, they produce a child. Okay, but two possibilities are there. The child is left free to himself. He can do what he wants. The parents are not bound to it, but the parents also are psychologically bound to it. Okay, so there, at a normal level, you are bound, but the divine need not be bound. But there is one thing, at our level, parents who let their child free, sometimes they don't care for the child. But the divine is not like that. He is free and lets his child do whatever he wants, but he loves it and cares for it. That's the difference. Okay, it's interesting, but you have to see it in that way. The divine is there, he is there in the supreme, he is the transcendent. But that's not the only situation. Being the transcendent, he creates the cosmos. And the cosmos creates the individuals. And these individuals are created by the cosmos, and the cosmos is created by the transcendent, but the transcendent is not bound by what it creates. That's what he's saying. Okay. So, and it is on this that the higher truth formula is made. It is on this freedom that is based the spirit's power of infinite variation of the truth possibilities of existence and also its capacity to create without tying itself to its workings any and every form of necessity or system of order. The individual being too, by experience of these negative absolutes, can participate in the dynamic liberty. Now, this is what most yogas in India don't say. Okay, there are many who say that. In other words, if you are in the lower level of consciousness, you are bound. There is no chance of your seeing the divine here in the physical world. So if you want the divine, leave your body, mind, life alone. Get rid of it and go up. The truth is only at the higher level. So if they're saying no, even while living in the physical world, I can have a divine consciousness. Okay, that's what he's saying. And that also there is a gradation.
How it is possible?
What is possible?
That in this body you have that what you have just said. No, Sharindu has said that in this life or in this body also he can have this experience in.
Take Mother and Srimdu. They had a body, na?
Huh?
And they are living not in the body, but they have a body in the physical world. But are they bound by the body? Absolutely not. Their consciousness is divine. Okay. At our level, our soul, we are not conscious of our soul. But if we become conscious of our soul, we will know that we are the soul and not the body, mind, life. That is what is meant. But this is the Gita's, they go up to this point, that you can be in the physical world in your body, mind, life, and yet you can be free. That's a Gita's, goes up to that point. But now Surendra is going one step further also. He's saying even the body, mind, life can become, maybe even the body can be made a divine substance. That is yet to be. That is not yet come, but even that can happen. Okay. So this is what Surendra is saying. All right, so I read the next. We've got 5 minutes. Now, at the stage when from the mental it has to move towards this supramental status, one most liberatingly helpful, if not indispensable experience that may intervene is the entry of a total nirvana of mentality and mental ego, a passage into the silence of the spirit. He's saying when you are traveling from the inconscient to the superconscient, a time comes in the middle where you experience the nirvana consciousness. So it can be puzzling. You may feel that when I am in the physical world, the world is so real to me. There is nothing. My computer is real. The food I am eating is real. Everything is real. Then suddenly you experience your consciousness goes to the self and you see everything is only shadow forms. The food you are eating also is shadow form. Your body also is just shadow form. It comes into being and disappears. So why God is cheating me? So Surendra is saying, no. The divine is telling you that your previous perception of things, that the physical world is absolutely real, is false. It is not absolutely real. That's why you get the experience of the nirvana. That's what he is telling you. A most liberatingly helpful. Okay. So, if not indispensable experience, that means, note that, if not indispensable experience, those who are going through the Bhakti Yoga path, they may not experience nirvana. Okay. So, that's the interesting part. Not indispensable, Surendra is saying. Okay. Most liberating, if not indispensable experience, that may intervene is the entry of a total nirvana of mentality and mental ego. Mentality disappears, no more thoughts and no more ego also. A passage into the silence of the spirit. In any case, a realization of the pure self must always precede the transition to that mediating eminence of the consciousness from which a clear vision of the ascending and descending stairs of manifested existence is commanded, and the possession of the free power of ascent and descent becomes a spiritual prerogative. Now, what is this mediating eminence? Okay, mediating eminence, if you remember, the supermind is mediating between the highest and the lowest. It is supermind that contains both. If you are above the supermind, it doesn't contain the lower. It contains only the oneness. If you are below the supermind, it is mainly containing the many and not the one. Okay. relatively. So the mediating eminence is a very interesting word, very, very high, powerful. That's a supermind. Okay? So now read that sentence again, you'll see. In any case, a realization of the pure self must always precede the transition to that mediating eminence. So you can't go to the supermind unless you experience this pure self. You have to have the experience of nirvana. Those who are doing bhakti yoga, they don't climb up. They only have a relation of bhakti with the divine, a relation with the divine. But knowledge may not be there. But for knowledge, you have to climb up. And if you climb up, then a time will come when you will experience the physical world as unreal. It is absolutely essential, Shri is saying, for going to the supermind. You have to go through the experience of nirvana. Okay? Is commanded, and the possession of the free power of ascent and descent becomes a spiritual prerogative. Okay, this is very interesting because Ramakrishna said something very interesting. He said that there are two types of souls. One is what is called a Jiva Koti, and the other is a Ishvara Koti. The Ishvara Koti is the one who realizes himself as everything. He can go to the highest level, he can position himself in the lowest level also. But a Jiva Koti is one who gets a liberation, okay, and he loses contact with the body mind life. And he can be only in one plane of consciousness at a time. Maximum maybe 2 planes or 3 planes, but a Ishvara Koti is one who can live on many planes at the same time. That is what Srila is wanting. Go to the supramental level, experience all the planes of consciousness simultaneously. That's what he's saying. Okay? Now, we got only 1 minute. I just finished the para. An independent completeness of identity with each of the primal aspects and powers, not narrowing as in the mind into a soul engrossing experience, seeming to be final and integral, for that would be incompatible with the realization of the unity of all aspects and powers of existence, is a capacity inherent in consciousness in the infinite. In other words, human beings, if you are below the supermind, you will see only one aspect of the divine, one aspect of the divine, one aspect of the divine. Go to the supermind, you will see all the aspects together. That's basically what he's saying. Okay? And that capacity is there in human beings. That indeed is the base and justification of the overmind cognition and its will to carry each aspect, each power, each possibility to its independent fullness. Okay? The overmind gives the right of each determinate to become an absolute reality in the physical world. That's what he's saying. Okay? But the supermind keeps always and in every status of condition the spiritual realization of the unity of all. So, in the supermind, you have the unity and the multiplicity also you can see. Because there are 3 statuses, if you remember. The intimate presence of that unity is there even within the completest grasp of each thing, each state, given its whole delight of itself, power and value. Now he is saying something stunning. He is saying that even in the stone, in everything, the possibility of this unity is there. In other words, the highest is involved in the lowest, and the lowest also is inherent in the highest. They are all connected, but yet it has to be worked out. Okay, that is the ascent and the descent. Okay, that's what he's saying. Each state given its whole delight of existence, power and value. So, there is thus no losing sight of the affirmative aspects, even when there is the full acceptance of the truth of the negative. So, even when you go to the impersonal aspect of the divine, the personal aspect also is possible to be experienced. That's what he's saying. Okay, but the others don't see that because they don't go to the supermind. Okay, as I told you, Buddhism perhaps, Mayavada, okay, they all have the aspect of the impersonal aspect of the divine and they stop there. There is no God, okay, the personal aspect is not there. The overmind keeps still the sense of this underlying unity. In the overmind consciousness, you see the unity and you see also the multiplicity, but they are not simultaneous. That's what Sri is saying. In mind, the knowledge of the unity of all aspects is lost on the surface. At our level, normal mind, the unity we don't see. Mentally, we can imagine unity, but we don't see it. We don't experience it. It is lost on the surface. The consciousness is plunged into engrossing, exclusive, separate affirmations. Affirmations, clear forms. But there too, even in the mind's ignorance, the total reality still remains behind the exclusive absorption and can be recovered in the form of a profound mental intuition or else in the idea or sentiment of an underlying truth of integral oneness. Even in the ignorance, the knowledge is there hiding. That's what he said. Okay? In the spiritual mind, this can develop into an ever present experience, ever present, simultaneous experience, seeing the both. And that is the what he's saying in the supramental consciousness that is possible. So we stop here today. We have gone 4 minutes beyond our time. So, although it seems very difficult, the language, it's basically not so difficult. Okay? So we stop. So,
Merci
Thank you.
beaucoup.
okay. Okay.
I'm all your thinking, you can say that. For us, still it is difficult.
If you go on
Thank you,
thinking,
Rangadavan.
if you go on thinking about
Yes, that.
it becomes clearer and clearer. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Rangadavan. Thank you so much.
Okay. Au revoir, everybody.